Hey everybody, welcome to That's Good Broncos. I am Brandon Perna. This is I hope you had a great holiday, Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, festivities, Festivus, break, and that you're all drunk with greed and hungover from booze. Today I'm talking Broncos, Bengals. I'm going to predict a winner based on my special algorithm I've created, my guessing algorithm. And last week, my algorithm predicted a Steelers win. My heart predicted a Broncos win. I'm torn every fucking week. What will happen today? Giving the home team in the matchups a half-point advantage is as much a tradition as restraining your drunk grandmother on Christmas as she tries to sexually seduce Santa Claus. It ain't Christmas until Grandma is in her lingerie. Half-point Broncos. Gary Kubiak versus Marvin Lewis. Marvin Lewis and Gary Kubiak are in similar positions as they try and coach two very good football teams with their backup quarterbacks slinging the ball. They also have both recently lost to the Steelers, and I think a lot of people have questions about both these teams as serious contenders as the playoffs approach. Lewis has traditionally struggled when his team reaches the playoffs, and Gary Kubiak has struggled getting his team to the postseason. I thought Kubiak and Dennison did a better job at play calling last week against the Steelers after their disastrous Raider game. But with back-to-back losses, I'm giving Marvin Lewis a 0.25 advantage. Running backs versus running backs. Giovanni Bernard and Jeremy Hill destroyed the Broncos 1 year ago on Monday Night Football in Week 16. The Broncos did not have Brandon Marshall or Danny Trevathan in the game, and right now, Denver still has the best run defense in the NFL, allowing 79.9 yards per game. Vic Lombardi told me on our podcast In the Huddle this past week that C.J. Anderson is healthy. I think it's clear that the offense is not as good unless Anderson is being fed the rock. He must start this game and he must be used in the red zone for the Broncos to have success. Jeremy Hill is 3 letters short of being Jeremy Hillman. And Ronnie Hillman has 6 less rushing touchdowns than Hill this season. Neither sets of backs were effective last week, with the big exception being Hill found the end zone twice. That's why they get a half-point Bengal advantage, even though I believe Hillman and a healthy Anderson will have success Sunday. Broncos receivers and tight ends versus Bengals secondary. Emmanuel Sanders is coming off a monster game where he torched his former team for 181 yards on 10 catches and a touchdown. Demaryius Thomas had a great game with 2 touchdowns and 61 yards receiving. The problem is that Thomas dropped a pass along with Vernon Davis in the fourth quarter that could very well have helped the Broncos win the game. I can't assume Davis or Thomas will perform in the clutch until I see it happen, especially since DT leads the league in drop passes. Virgil Green's absence from the passing game is mind-boggling, especially seeing both Daniels and Davis drop balls on a regular basis. The Bengals have a formidable secondary with George Iloka, and Reggie Nelson at safety. Nelson has 8 interceptions this year, which leads the entire league. Adam Pac-Man Jones is currently rated as the 3rd best corner in the NFL and is shutting down most receivers he faces. He's also good against the run, but on the other side, Drake Kirkpatrick has been struggling in coverage. Sanders or Thomas will be a mismatch for him, but against this solid unit, I'm giving the Bengals a 0.25 advantage. I have to, until our receivers and tight ends catch all balls thrown their way. Broncos offensive line versus Bengals front 7. I definitely don't like this matchup for the Broncos. The good news is Evan Mathis was a full participant at practice all week long. Now, if we could only combine Max Garcia and Luis Vasquez into one player, the Broncos would have 2 elite guards. Garcia is great against the run, but terrible in pass situations, and Vasquez is the exact opposite. Michael Schofield will need help again as he's facing Carlos Dunlap and Geno Atkins. Atkins is playing near perfect football as an interior defender. He's ranked second only to Aaron Donald right now, and he will be a problem for the Broncos O-line. There's a lot of depth on the Bengals defensive line, and they are backed by a pretty good set of linebackers in Vontaze Burfict, Ray Maluga, and former Packer A.J. Hawk. Burfict is the dominant player of the group, and at the will position, the Broncos will do their best to run away from him. The Bengals group is talented, so I have to award them a half-point advantage. Broncos front seven versus Bengals offensive line. DeMarcus Ware and Shaq Barrett on the right side will have their work cut out for them, teeing off against an elite left tackle in Andrew Whitworth. Whitworth was selected to the Pro Bowl, and he saddles up next to Clint Bowling, who is nearly as good as Evan Mathis. Right guard Kevin Zeitler is having a phenomenal season despite playing next to a struggling right tackle in Andre Smith Jr. Jackson and Wolf will have a battle in the interior against this line. They may be able to exploit a subpar center with the help of Sylvester Williams, but Von Miller going against Andre Smith is the mismatch to watch. Miller should Khalil Mack Smith, and if he does, this could be a long day for quarterback A.J. McCarron, who has not faced a defense nearly as good as the Broncos this season. I'll trust that Trevathan and Marshall can keep the backs in check, and I'm going to give the Broncos half-point advantage. Brock Osweiler versus A.J. McCarron. Brock Osweiler, for 2 weeks in a row, has played nearly perfect in the first half, but has remained ineffective in the second. We know Brock can play in the clutch, as we witnessed against the Patriots, but that success is heavily predicated on the run game. A.J. McCarron has played so little that I have no idea if he's any good. Against the 49ers last week, he was very efficient with a 71.4 completion percentage, 1 touchdown and 0 interceptions. He will be pressured Monday night, and he will see coverage tighter than Ryan Fitzpatrick's newly shaved beard. I'm giving Brock the benefit here based on the little more experience he has, and because McCarron's biggest test of the season is coming Monday night. Half point for Brock and a complete game from the Gentle Giant. Bengals receivers and tight ends versus Broncos secondary. The Bengals will be without their dangerous touchdown scoring machine of a tight end Tyler Eifert as he continues to recover from a concussion. The Broncos can take AJ Green out of the game along with tight end Tyler Kroft, Tomb Raider. Denver could dominate this game. Kroft scored a 20-yard touchdown last week against the 49ers. Taking away the deep ball is key for this secondary. The Bengals' run game will struggle, and McCarron has been effective connecting on 5 of 8 passes for over 20 yards. Chris Harris, I believe, will bounce back after being schooled by Antonio Brown. Marvin Jones is good, but he doesn't drive a big yellow bus that can take Harris to school. I like the way Talib matches up with AJ Green, and I believe Bradley Roby will return to his true tackling form, where he tackles receivers. The biggest question remains at safety. TJ Ward has been limited this week, and his status is somewhat uncertain. David Bruton is done for the season, and Darian Stewart finally practiced on Saturday after dealing with his hamstring issues. The Broncos signed their third safety in almost as many weeks, bringing Shaun Prater on board. Regardless of Ward and Stewart's status, this position will see plenty of rotation Monday night. I'll give Denver a cautious 0.25 advantage here because Bush played well last week, and Tyler Eifert is out. Special teams versus special teams. The Bengals have Mike Nugent, who is 21 for 25, and the Broncos' Brandon McManus has missed a field goal and an extra point during the last 2 games, but is 26 of 30 on the season. Cincinnati have not returned any kicks or punts for touchdowns, and with Omar Bolden still hurt, I don't think the Broncos will either. This is a wash, but to make this fun, the Bengals get a quarter point for having 1 more Pro Bowl selection than the Broncos. Drum roll. The final score is 1.75 Bengals to 1.75 Broncos. Dang, I didn't even plan that. This game could go either way, and I think everyone knows that. The Broncos have to run the ball in both halves to have success. Have. This game hinges on the legs of Anderson and Hillman, and the reason I am picking the Broncos to win is based on my belief in Christmas miracles. Austin Chris from Twitter tweeted me this picture of his entire family sporting Big Dick player shirts, and this showcasing of family unity who all believe in the power of the Big Dick confirms the Broncos will win Monday night 28-20. And CJ Anderson will be the BDP of the game. Thanks for watching That's Good Broncos. Make sure you subscribe here to That's Good Sports. Give me a follow on Twitter at Brandon Perna. And if you haven't listened to the In the Huddle podcast, go to milehighhuddle.com. Check it out. Give it a listen. This week, our guest is Vic Lombardi. He's great as always. And just please listen to it. Download it. iTunes. All that stuff.